Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poe. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome. It is Friday. Made it to the end of the week. Moving right along. Actually, the last Friday in the month of January, because when we resume next week, it's going to be into February. Year is already moving along. Okay, so today we have double air. Air sign is the sun sign, which is Aquarius, and the moon sign is also an air sign. It is Gemini. It will be there for the rest of this day. So the things we're going to look at here are the aspects. Just as a refresher, aspects are just the way that energy bounces off of all the other energy that's out there. And that's basically it. And it's determined because we have the wheel, the zodiac, and we can plant and put the chart the planets around it, and then draw and just see where they are in conjunction to other planets, what the distances are. If they're at a certain distance, it's called a square. If it's another certain distance, it's called a trine or a sextile. That's where the names come from, just the certain distances, and that's it. And it's just looking and understanding how energy interacts with energy when it's in different positions. So it all boils down to energy, how energy is bouncing off each other. And ultimately, when we look at all this energy, it all has a connection to mental powers, mental abilities, a huge mind. And this mind is just moving this energy around, working with the energy, knowing when to work with it, when to chill out and let it kind of work with you, and vice versa, because we are told and that we are co-creating with this energy, which we are. So we want to understand it so we can work with it better and better. So these are some of the aspects for today. We've already had the first aspect here, the first couple ones go by, which has been Saturn. So Saturn and Venus, about 2:30, close to 2:30 in the morning, they were already here, applying a little discipline to what's going on with our imagination, maybe some dreams that were a little intense. Then Jupiter got into the mix about an hour later with the moon sign to really kind of open things up. Jupiter to expand the communication. I would imagine, since many were sleeping in this part of the world, that these are all dream related, and people on the other side of the world are actually experiencing this expansion of their communication, how they're thinking, what they're thinking, maybe truthfulness, because Jupiter is all about truthfulness. It is connected with the tarot card Sagittarius, which is the higher self, card of temperance, the angel that's tempering things, truthfulness. So things expand, our communication becomes more truthful. Pluto, just a little bit ago, got into the mix, and Pluto is working together with Mars. Mars is all this aggressive, fiery energy, and Pluto's transformation on a deep, deep level. So these are working together, processing all of that we've learned over the course of this last week, over the last day, over the last night. We process all that energetically so that we can really come to understand it, be transformed by it. And then the Sun and Mercury, they're having a communication with each other. This is a conjunction here, and they're like right next to each other. So they're having a conversation, and the Sun is talking about Aquarius, and the Mercury, the magician or messenger, is trying to tell the Sun all about what his message is, and the Sun wants to bring enlightenment commitment to everything. So there's nice communication going on here. Okay, and then as we go through the course of the day, we have a void of course moon coming in at 4 o'clock, at which point we will be in a void of course position for about 6, 8, 9 hours till we get into the 1 o'clock hour where our moon sign goes into the next sign, which is Cancer, and it will be there over the course of this weekend. Nice little watery emotional weekend as we move forward. Okay, those are the aspects. The Jewish calendar today would be 10 Shavat. 10 Shavat is the name of today. Daily thought is truth from the ground up. When the Creator came to create the human being, truth said, "Do not create him, for he is full of lies." Kindness said, "Create him, for he will do acts of kindness." What did the Creator do? He cast truth eastward. He created the human being. That is why it says truth will sprout from the ground. Every argument in the Torah can be reduced to the same crucial question. Do we follow rigid, immutable truth regardless? Or do we take into account the particulars of the situation? Do we look only from above down, or do we take the view from below as well? The debate is never easy because truth is no longer truth once compromised. Rather, we need to find a way to hold both ends of the stick at once. This is why the debate must occur among us human beings here on Earth, and from there the resolution must sprout, for only in that way will truth come down to Earth where it truly belongs. Current moon phase is 83% of the way full. Next week it will be at a full moon. Space weather, our solar wind is currently at 391.4. Our planetary K-index is quiet, however, it shows a 24-hour max of becoming unsettled, most likely because of what's going on here with this large corona hole, which even seems to be larger than it was the other day. So we have a notification that late January, early February, we'll be feeling the solar wind and effects from there. So that may account for why this is unsettled. M-class flare possibility has gone up a bit to 50%. X-class has gone up as well to 10. Geomagnetic storm activity, 35 in the mid-latitudes, 50 in the high. So it looks like we're getting to that phase where we are going to start receiving a good dose of this solar wind, energy from the cosmos. So that may affect, how you're feeling during these times. Pay attention during these times when things become unsettled. Just see how you feel. See if you can understand and get used to the different feelings that take place when our planet is receiving certain doses of energy. It's quiet right now, but we're going to hit with this wind, and things are going to become a bit unsettled. And the moon tonight, right here, from the moon, we'll see Taurus, we'll see Gemini. Far up to the right of the moon, we got the Pleiades. So see how everything progresses this way here. Well, this makes it clockwise direction. This seems to go counterclockwise. All right, and just below the moon, a little to the right, will be the Orion constellation. Any further notes? It says the waxing gibbous moon shines above Orion. It's near Zeta Tauri, the fainter of the two stars that mark the tip of the Taurus's long horns. All right, and there you go. That's our cosmic weather day, the energy we're dealing with. So plan accordingly. UFO news is up. Let's check it out.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Thank you, Dirk, for that introduction. Okay, we have first sighting up by the ISS. This is just a brief description, but a couple of pictures here, a couple of photographs that were taken. It says this amazing series of UFO sighting photos were taken while hovering above the Earth from the ISS live cam on the 29th of January, so yesterday. Witness says these images were taken last night while watching Ustream. I actually saw the object move under the clouds. So here it is right there, a little white object. You can see it moving. So that's what we have here. Series of pictures that were taken, screenshots. Up to Mars, now we have some very obvious structures of some sort. Buildings, perhaps. Certainly seems that way. NASA, JPL, this is the source of the photos. Says the anomaly was found last week on Mars by the rover, and it looks to be a long structure with cut-off corners in ways only intelligent species could make. This is excellent evidence that life did exist and may still exist on Mars. So why are the archaeologists around the globe not searching for NASA Mars archives for these unique discoveries? Seems most archaeologists think outside of the box. So, good question. Good question indeed. Alright, 1 minute 19-second video. So you can close in, and as it gets closer you could definitely see there is something about that sticks out. Okay? So there's the boxes on Mars. Let's move forward. Chance of finding ancient alien life increases. Scientists discovered Earth-sized planets nearby. Okay, that's just a picture, a rendering of it. It's not the real deal. Scientists believe the discovery of 5 Earth-sized planets around a distant star in the Milky Way galaxy increased the possibility of finding another rocky planet where water and life exist. While the rocky Earth-sized planets are too close to their sun and too hot for life, they could be more ubiquitous than previously believed because of the fact that they were formed billions of years ago, the time when the galaxy was still in its infancy. Scientists found no planets in the distant solar system with sizes that range between Mercury and Venus. They analyzed gathered data by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, which already confirmed 1,013 true planets from more than 4,000 identified planetary candidates. The 5 exoplanets orbit around the star named Kepler 444, which is 25% smaller than the Sun, found 117 light-years away in the constellation of Cygnus and Lyra. Kepler 444 formed 11.2 billion years ago, less than 25% of the age of the galaxy and far before the formation of the Sun. This means that the solar system is the oldest group of terrestrial-sized planets ever discovered in the Milky Way, around 2.5 times older than that of the Earth, according to the study published in the Astrophysical Journal. Okay. Tycho Campo of the University of Birmingham stated that the discovery of the ancient Earth-sized planets, which formed throughout the universe, could provide a scope of ancient life's existence. He went on to say that the planets in the system were already older than today's Earth by the time the latter formed, so the discovery can help nail the start of what scientists might call the era of planet formation, explained Dr. Campanete. Alright, next up. Here we have a professor finds live coming from space during experiment. Okay. We heard a few months ago about Russian astronaut cleaning the space station solar panels and finding extremely large plankton growing on them, but NASA tried to say it came from the ocean. Russians ignored NASA's response. Here we have a professor with further evidence from orbit of life coming into our atmosphere from space. The brave soul dares to challenge today's scientific community by saying this. A hero, if you ask me. Scott C. Waring. The news states, your Discovery Science recently traveled to Sheffield University for an exclusive interview with Professor Milton Wainwright, who claims to have found life in space. Milton and his team conducted an experiment where they sent a weather balloon fitted with 27 pockets to space. In one of the pockets, they discovered a living bacteria which was too large to have come from Earth. Does this prove there is life beyond our planet? Does it change the way we look, how life is created? Well, here's an interview for you to check it out and see. You're going to have to watch the link and follow the link and watch it yourself. Okay, here we have a story of a new station has expert analyze UFO sighting. Memphis, Tennessee. Since hearing about Project Blue Book on January 20th, dozens of UFO believers and skeptics contacted WMC Acton News 5 with more information. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, Project Blue Book was the name for the Air Force's files on UFOs or unidentified flying objects. Those files are now available online for anyone to look through. But UFO sighting did not stop in the 60s. A camera caught a white object in the blue Memphis sky on January 20th, 2015. It is a bird, a plane, obviously not Superman, so what is it? So WMC Acton News 5, Andrew Douglas took your questions to Eddie Middleton, college professor and director of the Tennessee branch of MUFON. I would want to interview the witness, Middleton said. If I assess that they are credible, I'd probably want to classify that as an unknown. It can't be identified. Middleton has been following and researching the UFOs for the better part of 30 years. We have many sightings in the Middle South area, he said. I'd say 95% are not reported. It's rare that people report a sighting. But in today's world, people are equipped with more cameras than ever before, making proof easier to come by. All right, we got a couple of videos here showing a few things. I'm going to leave the links. You can check that out further. Story says the mysterious alien transmission, still a mystery after all these years. On Saturday, November 26, 1977 at 5:10 p.m. in the United Kingdom, a mysterious voice who called himself Avrilion of the Ashtar Galactic Command performed an illegal broadcast on live television during the height of an evening news program. The transmission lasted for over 5 minutes. This weird electronic voice, accompanied by a strange pulsating sound, echoes and eerie distortions, overrode the normal audio broadcast signal in order to recite a lengthy statement warning viewers of an impending global disaster should humanity continue on its present course. The hijack did not affect the video portion of the news broadcast, and the illegal voice transmission was superimposed over the existing audio. Near the end of what authorities have termed a rogue transmission, parts of cartoon dialogue can be heard, including the Looney Tunes theme song, the sound of an explosion, strange chatter, and other noises. The illegal broadcast was investigated by UK authorities, who were unable to determine the source of the signal or who might have sent it. It is assumed that the broadcast was a hoax perpetrated by someone who sent a signal powerful enough to override the station's VHF transmitter. But in the past 30 years, no one has ever claimed responsibility for the hijack. Okay, and here is a transcript of the message. Let's get to that. That's the important part. This is the voice of Vrilon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the sky. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom, as we have done to our brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings of the world around you. This is in order that you might share in the Great Awakening as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time for great peace and evolution for your race, but only if your rulers are made aware of the evil forces that can overshadow their judgments. But still, be still now and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are part of may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. You are free to accept or reject their teachings, but only those who learn to live in peace will pass on to the higher realms of spiritual evolution. Hear now the voice of Vrilon, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. Beware also that there are many false prophets and guides operating in your world. They will suck your energy from you, the energy you call money, and will put it to evil ends and give you worthless dross in return. Your inner divine self will protect you from this. You must learn to be sensitive to the voice within that can tell you what is truth and what is confusion, chaos, and untruth. Learn to listen to the voice of truth, which is within you, and you will lead yourselves into the path of evolution. This is our message to you, dear friends. We have watched you growing for many years, and too have watched our lights in the sky. You know now that we are here, and that there are more beings on and around your Earth than your scientists admit. We are deeply concerned about you and your path towards the light, and will do all we can to help you. Have no fear. Seek only to know yourselves and live in harmony with the ways of the planet Earth. We of the Ashtar Galactic Command thank you for your attention. We are now leaving the plane of your existence. May you be blessed by the supreme love and truth of the cosmos. Okay, and there you go. That was the end of that. So, interesting indeed. Links available. Here's a notification of a movie that's coming out in Flagstaff. Travis Holt Hamilton's Native American science fiction thriller, Legends from the Sky, will play in Flagstaff at the Flagstaff Harkins 11 for 1 week, from January 30th to February 5th, showing all day. Legends from the Sky is a sci-fi movie about Native American veteran burdened by survivor's guilt stemming from a disastrous military tour. He finds himself searching for his missing grandfather, who disappears when an unknown federal organization takes over his ancestral land. The movie includes 15 minutes of spoken Navajo, subtitled as much as possible between the Navajo characters. Hamilton has never had the film screened in Las Vegas despite his living in Flagstaff. Despite living in Flagstaff, he said a large portion of support for the theater comes from Native Americans. So there you go. There's a lot more to it there, but check that out. The movie's coming up this week. And UFO Detector for free. Anyone can now spot UFOs with the invention of a new program that uses USB webcam to monitor the skies. Designed to record when it detects something out of the ordinary, the program hopes to help produce better UFO videos. Developed by Project CE, Connecting Evidence, the program called UFO Detector is now available for free via the creator's website. According to the description provided on the site, the program features an algorithm that detects unidentified light-emitting objects. Right, and if you go to the site, here's what we got. Just download right here. Okay, so there you go. That is our UFO news. Up next, we're going to continue on with the Nag Hammadi Library and on to the next piece. Stay tuned. Let's get to it.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Okay, let's continue on. So, I was rereading this morning before the show through On the Origin of the World. I'm going to do some more research on that over the weekend. I find that it usually helps to read through it a couple of times. It's not really that much of a read, but just reading through it each time, there's a little bit more understanding. And then I even like to take and break it down. You know, sometimes like a movie script, to break it down so you know what are the characters that are involved, what are they saying, because otherwise there's just so much information that's there. But once you kind of go through it a couple of times, it all starts to make sense. Part of it is understanding, you know, the author. Every author writes in a flowery way. Think of like Shakespeare, how he wrote. So when you think about these writers, sometimes they're writing in very flowery ways. They're describing things in one way and then describing it again. So you look at it and it's like, are they talking about two different things? And then you realize they're just talking about one thing. They're just describing it in multiple times. But as you go through it, little by little, it all kind of comes together. So we've got two stories so far. We have the Apocryphon of John, which is Apocryphon meaning a secret book. So the secret book of John. and we had on the origin of the world so far. And in both stories, we have an origin of the world that involves a character named Yaldabaoth that was created, who was several tiers down from the great creator of the universe, of all. I like to say, in the realm of, if it was just the great creator, male, female, mother, father, down to the autogens, down to the 4 that came from the autogens, down to the next group of 12. In that group of 12 is where the problem were. If you break it down, you got father, son, grandchild, great-grandchild. So down in that realm of the great-grandchildren, there was some sort of problem that occurred, whether it was a rape, an abduction, some sort of mutiny. Did this involve the Anunnaki? We'll get into that eventually. But something occurred, and this Yaldabaoth went out. And Yaldabaoth became the ruler who, from what these writings say, created the physical universe, the material world. So this material world, it's where we're living. So we've got this character now, Yaldabaoth, otherwise known in some as Yahweh. And here he's going and behaving a certain way. But then, as on the origin of the world talked about, Yaldabaoth was eventually replaced because he got too out of control that his mother, Sophia, stepped in, put him in his place, and he was replaced by his son, Sabaoth. And his son was really, repentant about everything, really didn't like what the father was about, and was taught all the ways in which humanity needs to evolve according to the original plan. So efforts were really made, it appears, with Sabaoth to really get us back on track. Okay, so those are the 2 writings here. Today, I'm going to go over another writing. This one is called The Hypostasis of the Archons. All right, so let's just jump into it, and it means the reality of the rulers. All right, here we go. On account of the reality of the authorities, inspired by the spirit of the Father of Truth, the great apostle, who in this case Paul, is referring to the authorities of darkness, told us that our contest is not against flesh and blood, rather the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I have sent this to you because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. Their chief is blind, because his power and his ignorance and his arrogance, he said with his power, it is he who is God, and there is none apart from him. When he said this, he sinned against the entirety, but his speech got up to incorruptibility, and there was a voice that came forth from incorruptibility, saying, You are mistaken, Samael, which is God of the blind. His thoughts became blind, and having expelled this power, that is, the blasphemy he had spoken, he pursued it down to chaos and the abyss, his mother, and at the instigation of Pistis Sophia. And she established each of his offspring in conformity with its power, after the pattern of the realms that are above, for by starting from the invisible world, the visible world was invented. As incorruptibility, and incorruptibility here is just another way of describing God, because one of the powers that was asked for in the beginning was this power of incorruptibility. So incorruptibility is just a way of saying, as God looked down into the realm, the waters, her image appeared in the waters, and the authorities of darkness became enamored of her. But they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely possess a soul cannot lay hold of those that possess a spirit, for they were from below while it was from above. This is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into that region, so that by the Father's will she might bring the entirety into the union with the light. So what we have here is the divine feminine, the invisible spirit, looking down to where the problems are in an effort to bring light to it, to fix the situation. The rulers laid plans and said, Come, let us create a man that will be soul from the earth. And they modeled their creature as one of the earth, Now the ruler's body they have, female is, had some missing words there, with the face of a beast. And they had taken some of the soil from the earth and modeled their man after their body after the image of God that appeared to them in the waters. They said, "Come, let us lay hold of it by means of the form that we have modeled, so that we may see its male counterpart, and we may seize it with the form that we have modeled," not understanding that the force of God because of their powerlessness. And he breathed into his face, and the man came to have a soul, and remained upon the ground many days. But they could not make him arise because of their powerlessness. Like the storm winds, they persisted in blowing, that they might try to capture that image which had appeared to them in the waters, but they did not know the identity of its power. Now, all these things came to pass by the will of the Father of the entirety. Afterwards the Spirit saw the soul-endowed man on the ground, and the Spirit came forth from the adamantine land, and it descended, and it came to dwell with him. And that man became a living soul. It called his name Adam, and since he was found moving upon the ground. A voice came forth from incorruptibility for the assistance of Adam. And the rulers gathered together all of the animals of the land and the birds of the heaven, and brought them to Adam to see what Adam would call them, that he might give them a name to all of the birds and all of the beasts. So they took Adam and they put him in the garden, that he might cultivate it and keep watch over it. And the rulers issued a command, saying, "From every tree in the garden shall you eat, yet from the tree of recognizing good and evil do not eat, nor touch it, for the day you eat from it, with death you are going to die." They do not understand what they have said to him. Rather, by the Father's will, they said this in such a way that he might, in fact, eat, and that Adam might not regard them as would a man of exclusively material nature. The rulers took counsel with one another, said, "Come, let us cause a deep sleep to fall upon Adam." And he slept. Now the deep sleep that they caused to fall upon him is the sleep of ignorance. And during that time they opened his side like a living woman, and they built up his side with some flesh in place of her. And Adam came to be endowed only with soul. And the Spirit-endowed woman came to him and spoke to him, saying, "Arise, Adam." And when he saw her, he said, "It is you who have given me life. You will be called mother of the living, for it is she who is my mother. It is she who is the physician and the woman, and she who has given birth." Then the authorities came up to their Adam, and when they saw this female counterpart speaking with Adam, they became agitated with great agitation, and they became enamored of her. They said to one another, "Come, let us sow our seed in her." And they pursued her, and she laughed at them for their witlessness, and their blindness. And in their clutches she became a tree, and left before them a shadowy reflection resembling herself. And they defiled it foully, and they defiled the stamp of her voice, so that by the form that they had modeled together with their own image, they made themselves liable to condemnation. Then the female spiritual principle, came in the snake, the instructor, and it taught them, saying, "What did he say to you? Was it, from every tree in the garden you shall eat, yet from the tree recognizing good and evil do not eat?" The carnal woman said, "Not only did he say, 'Do not eat,' but do even not touch it, for the day that you eat from it, with death you are going to die." And the snake, the instructor, said, "With death you shall not die, for it was out of jealousies that he said that to you. Rather your eyes shall open, and you shall come to be like gods, recognizing good and evil." And the female instructing principle was taken away from the snake, and she left it behind, merely a thing of the earth. And the carnal woman took from the tree and ate, and she gave to her husband as well as herself. And these things that possessed only a soul ate, and their imperfection became apparent in their lack of knowledge, and they recognized that they were naked of spiritual element. And they took fig leaves and bound them upon their loins. Then their chief ruler came, and he said, "Adam, where are you?" For he did not understand what had happened. And Adam said, I heard your voice, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid. The ruler said, why did you hide, unless you have eaten from the tree which alone I commanded you not to eat? And you have eaten. Adam said, the woman you gave me, she gave to me, and I ate. And the arrogant ruler cursed the woman. And the woman said, it was the snake that led me astray, and I ate. They turned to the snake and cursed its shadowy reflection, powerless, not comprehending that it was a form they themselves had modeled. From that day the snake came to be under the curse of the authorities, and the all-powerful man was to come, that curse, until the all-powerful man was to come, that curse fell upon the snake. And they turned to their Adam, and they took him, and they expelled him from the garden along with his wife, for they have no blessing, since they are two beneath the curse. Moreover, they threw mankind into great distraction, and into a life of toil, so that their mankind might be occupied by worldly affairs, and might not have the opportunity of being devoted to Holy Spirit. Now afterward she bore Cain their son, and Cain cultivated the land. Thereupon he knew his wife, becoming again pregnant, and she bore Abel. Abel was a herdsman of sheep. Now Cain brought in from the crops of his field, but Abel brought in an offering from among his lambs. God looked upon the votive offerings of Abel, but he did not accept the votive offerings of Cain. And carnal Cain pursued Abel his brother. God said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? And he answered, saying, am I my brother's keeper? God said to Cain, listen, the voice of your brother's blood is crying up to me. You have sinned with your mouth, and it will return to anyone who kills you. Cain will let loose 7 vengeances, and you will exist groaning and trembling upon the earth. And Adam knew his female counterpart Eve, and she became pregnant and bore Seth to Adam. And she said, I have borne another man through God in place of Abel. Again Eve became pregnant, and she bore Noriah. And she said, he has begotten on me a virgin, as an assistance for my generations of mankind. She is the virgin whom the forces did not defile. And mankind began to multiply and improve. The rulers took counsel with one another and said, come, let us make cause deluge with our hands, to obliterate all flesh from man to beast. But when the ruler of the forces came to know of their decision, he said to Noah, make yourself an ark from some wood that does not rot, and hide it, you and your children and the beasts and the birds of heaven from small to large, and set it upon Mount Seir. Then Noriah came to him, wanting to board the ark, and when he would not let her, she blew upon the ark and caused it to be consumed by fire. Again he made the ark for a second time. The rulers went to meet her, intending to lead her astray. The supreme chief said to her, your mother Eve came to us. But Noriah turned to them and said, it is you who are the rulers of darkness. You are accursed. And you did not know my mother. Instead, it was your female counterpart that you knew. For I am not your descendant. Rather, it is from the world above that I come. The arrogant ruler turned with all his might, and his countenance came to be like a black. And he said to her, presumably, you must render services to us as did your mother Eve. For I have been given. But Noriah turned, and with a loud voice she cried up to the Holy One, the God of the entirety, rescue me from the rulers of unrighteousness, and save me from their clutches forthwith. The great angel came down from the heavens and said to her, why are you crying up to God? Why do you act so boldly towards the Holy Spirit? Noriah said, who are you? The rulers of unrighteousness had undrawn from her. He said, it is I who am Elilith, Sangisity, the great angel who stands in the presence of the Holy Spirit, and I have been sent to speak with you and to save you from the grasp of the lawless, and I shall teach you about your root. Noriah now apparently speaking. Now as for that angel, I cannot speak of his power, and his appearance is like fine gold, and his raiment is like snow. No, truly my mouth cannot bear to speak of his power and the appearance of his face. Elilith, the great angel, spoke to me. It is I, he said, who am understanding. I am one of the 4 light givers, who stand in the presence of the great invisible Spirit. Do you think these rulers have any power over you? None of them can prevail against the root of truth, for on its account he appeared in the final age. and these authorities will be restrained. And these authorities cannot defile you and that generation, for your abode is in incorruptibility, where the Virgin Spirit dwells, who is superior to all authorities of chaos and their universe. But I said, sir, teach me about the faculty of these authorities. How did they come into being, and what kind of genesis, and what kind of material, and who created them, and their force? And the great angel Lilith, understanding, spoke to me. Within limitless realms dwells incorruptibility, Sophia. Sophia, who is called Pistis, wanted to create something alone without her consort, and her product was a celestial thing. A veil exists between the world above and the realms that are below, and shadow came into being beneath the veil, and that shadow became matter, and that shadow was projected apart, and what she had created became a product in the matter, like an aborted fetus, and it assumed a plastic form molded out of the shadow, and became an arrogant beast resembling a lion. It was androgynous, as I have already said, because it was made from matter that it derived. Open his eyes, he saw the vast quantity of matter without limit, and he became arrogant, saying, "It is I who am God, and there is none other apart from me." When he said this, he sinned against the entirety, and a voice came forth from the realm of the absolute power, saying, "You are mistaken, Samuel, God of the blind." He said, "If any other thing exists before me, then let it become visible to me." Immediately Sophia stretched forth her finger and introduced light into matter, and she pursued it down to the region of chaos, and she returned up to her light, once again darkness. The ruler, by being an androgynous, made himself a vast realm, an extent without limit, and he contemplated creating offspring for himself, and created for himself 7 offspring, androgynous, just like the parent. And he said to his offspring, "It is I who am the God of eternity." And Zoe, or Life, the daughter of Pistis Sophia, cried out and said to him, "You are mistaken, Sakla," for which the alternative name is Yaldabaoth. She breathed into his face, and her breath became a fiery angel for her. And that angel bound Yaldabaoth and cast him down into Tartaros below the abyss. And when his offspring, Sabaoth, saw the force of that angel, he repented, and condemned his father and his mother, Matter. He loathed her, but he sang songs of praise up to Sophia and her daughter Zoe. And Sophia and Zoe caught him up and gave him charge of the 7th heaven, below the veil, between above and below. And he is called the God of forces, Sabaoth, since he is above the forces of chaos, for Sophia established him. Now when these events had come to pass, he made himself a huge 4-faced chariot of cherubim and infinitely many angels to act as ministers, and also harps and lyres. And Sophia took her daughter Zoe, and had her sit upon his right to teach him about the things that exist in the 8th heaven, and the angel of wrath she placed on his left. Since that day the right has been called life, the left has come to represent the unrighteousness of the realm of the absolute power above. It was before that time that they came into being. When Yaldabaoth saw Sabaoth in his great splendor and at his height, he envied him, and the envy became an androgynous project, and this was the origin of envy. And envy engendered death, and death engendered his offspring, and each gave them charge of his heaven, and all the heavens of chaos became full of their multitudes. But it was by the way of the Father of the eternity that they all came into being, after the pattern of all things above, so that the sum of chaos might be attained. There I have taught you about the pattern of the rulers and the matter in which it is expressed, and their parent and their universe. But I said, "Sir, I am also from matter." He said, "You too, together with your offspring, are from the primeval Father. From above, out of the imperishable light, the souls are come. Thus the authorities cannot approach them, because the Spirit of truth present with them. And all who have become acquainted with this way exist deathless in the midst of dying mankind. Still that sown element will not become known now. Instead, after 3 generations, it will come to be known, and it has freed them from the bondage of the authorities' error." And I said, "Sir, how much longer?" He said to me, "Until the moment when the true man, within a modeled form, reveals the existence of the Spirit of truth, which the Father has sent. Then he will teach them about everything, and he will anoint them with the unction of life eternal given to him from the undominated generation. Then they will be freed of the blind thought, and they will trample under foot death, which is of the authorities, and they will ascend into the limitless light where this sown element belongs. Then the authorities will relinquish their ages, and their angels will weep over their destruction, and the demons will lament their death. Then all the children of light will be truly acquainted with the truth and their roots, and the Father of the entirety and the Holy Spirit. They will all say with a single voice, "The Father's truth is just, and the Son presides over the entirety, and from everyone unto the ages, holy, holy, holy. Amen." So there you go. We made it through the whole document there. Again, same story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on putting together a little synopsis of all of these, and Monday we'll get into that, the synopsis, and then perhaps move on into the next one. So the links are available, so you can check them out. But now you understand the story a bit more than when we first started. We see that the story is really different than the story that's in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. So I think it's important that we understand this, because if we understand where we're from, it helps us to understand where we're going, what we're doing, why we're doing it. All right. Here's an article over in 5D. It's called "All Thoughts Are Energy. 4 Simple Ways Your Thoughts Can Change the World," from Greg Prescott. Did you ever say the same thing as someone else at the exact same time? Did you ever get a bad vibe from someone for no particular reason at all? If all thoughts are energy, then how powerful is the human mind, and what are we truly capable of accomplishing? Empaths can easily feel emotion when words aren't spoken. Dogs instinctively know when someone is malicious or not. How is this possible? Well, all thoughts are energy that can be transmitted and received to the Earth's grid. Look no further than on the days of global meditation when violent crime rates dropped significantly. Energies can also be transmitted from person to person. You ever been around someone you could feel their energy without a particular person ever saying a word? This could be either positive or negative, but in either case the energy is still transmitted from person to person. Empaths will generally pick up on these energy vibrations quick and more profoundly than others, but we are all aware of sending and receiving these energies. We are all receptors and transmitters, including the animals and the plants. Okay, so here we go. Here's the 4 simple ways. Send love to other people whether you know them or not. Okay? Send love to everything in nature. Magnify your intentions through meditation, and lift the energy of your coworkers. There's a reason why we feel good after watching why we never feel good after watching the 6 o'clock news, because it's filled with fear-laden propaganda to keep us living in that vibration, which eventually manifests itself somewhere throughout the day or evening. If we live in the vibration of love and we send loving thoughts to all living creatures, then we will conversely change this paradigm into a world full of love, while attracting those of the same vibration with just a few simple thoughts each day. All right, so very good article. Good article, Greg. And that brings us to a message today. This one comes to us from Archangel Gabriel.
January 29th, 2015. By Marlene Swetleshoff.
Archangel Gabriel.
Beloved ones, let us have discourse on the quality of love known as vision. Having vision is focusing on a preferred future. One person with vision in their heart can change the world. For example, a higher vision as a quality within oneself is a positive way to respond to the happenings in the world. This encourages each individual to always take action based on their desire for the highest good of all. By holding the higher vision and staying focused on one's individual life as an expression of pure spirit, it is their intention to grow into that awareness and role. This also provides them the foundation to walk their path in life in faith and trust that all is well in their affairs. Each individual's effort to maintain their higher vision is met with grace from the universe, which creates and manifests the embryo for finding spiritual growth in everything. When an individual sees life with an expanded spiritual awareness, their virtuous actions as a way of life are the only ones that make sense to them. As each individual seeks truth as their highest vision, their own sense of honesty strengthens and they are able to see more clearly into their own spiritual heart. They begin to appreciate the perfection of their spiritual nature. They become more content with who they are and how they act in responding to the world around them. Their worldly attachments and desires naturally dissolve into the stream of their higher aspirations and vision. They become free from limited desire but seek more as their faith and trust in the benevolence of the universe increases. As their surrender to their higher vision increases, it allows the beneficence of universal grace to guide their every step. Their future vision expands into gratitude for the perfection of everything that comes to them at every new step of their life. They have created a personal vision which recognizes material diversity and spiritual unity at the same time. They recognize that within each embodied form there resides an individual spark of consciousness that lives simultaneously in the hearts of all living beings, therefore their vision is clear, perfect, and universal in its scope of understanding. As each individual advances in spiritual realization, their higher vision becomes increasingly purified, and this vision becomes a natural part of their life. It causes a profound shift in their perceptions and awareness of what is in their lives. They are able to see all of reality in the way God has made it, including their individual self. They see, hear, and understand all of life with their heart awareness. Their heart understands that it all depends on their own character, on knowing that they must be pure of heart in order for their spiritual vision to manifest in the world. They know it means refusing to do harm to others or even thinking harmful thoughts that may not manifest in actual physical creation. They are committed to bringing out their higher human potential by always following a habitual pattern in the subordination of their senses and lower tendencies. They experience forces that awaken their sense of love, compassion, and service to all. They contemplate the eternal perfection of the divine nature of God which flows like a river within each living form. In order to maintain their higher vision, each individual is required to be consistent in their efforts to maintain a focus on their given course of action. They must have insight and understanding into where they stand spiritually and to see from a higher viewpoint. They discover fresh insights about the way things are and the different outlooks on what can be. They find their own wisdom within that they attain to align with spirit. This process involves developing good judgment, deliberation, and common sense. The regular practice of holding a higher vision will give each individual a more balanced outlook on life. By visualizing their goals and believing in them, their higher vision manifests in incredibly stronger and more powerful ways. They realize their soul's purpose as they align their human desires with their higher spiritual visions. They strive to embody the necessary qualities to become true visionaries, as they dare to step into new territory without accepting the status quo. Because they are wiser through their chosen path, they are continually re-evaluating their lives in order to discover hidden potential, by thinking creatively, explore new possibilities, and are active, not passive in their approach to life. Higher vision is the perspective from which each individual views life. No matter how much spiritual information one receives, they can only take in as much as their present capacity allows. One's ability to understand the information is limited to their capacity to process and assimilate the information. They must discern and accept that there is more to learn when they are ready to absorb, and not become hard on themselves for not yet being open. The greater the capacity to understand and assimilate the wisdom given, the more capacity there is to receive the wisdom that one seeks. By approaching everything with wonder and a belief in a better reality, all things work together for one's good. It is important to remember that when one has a higher vision for their personal or collective life, they must believe that their vision is already actualized and manifest and it shall be given to them. As I take my leave, I encourage you to expand your own spiritual vision and your own capacity to know and understand through the actions of prayer, contemplation, and spiritual awareness. I am Archangel Gabriel.
All right, very good message from Archangel Gabriel. That brings us to, well, here's our message today, or passage, the next passage in the Warrior of the Light, and then we'll go into our meditation. Passage says, the philosopher Lao Tzu says of the journey of the Warrior of the Light, the path involves respect for all small and subtle things. Learn to recognize the right moment and to take the necessary attitudes. Even if you have already fired a bow several times, continue to pay attention to how you position the arrow and how you flex the string. When a beginner knows what he needs, he proves more intelligent than an absent-minded sage. Accumulating love brings luck. Accumulating hatred brings calamity. Anyone who fails to recognize problems leaves the door open for the tragedies to rush in. The battle is not the same as the quarrel. All right, so let's go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath and hold it. And exhale again. And one more deep breath. Hold it. Feel the energy as it cycles through your body and exhale. Now let's just take a moment to think about all that we've been through this week. Think about all the challenges we faced and that we've overcome. And take a moment to recognize all the ways in which we have made progress this week. And as you think about these things, you find out that you've actually made more progress than you realized. So give yourself a moment of appreciation for all the work you've done. Take a moment to give appreciation up to the cosmos, to the Mother, the Father of all life, of entirety, for all the energy that flows through you and everything. And just imagine, as we head into this weekend, just sending love out into the world. We have an Aquarius sun, and we have a Cancer moon coming up over the weekend at a time of emotions. We're coming out of a time of communication, words and actions based upon a lot of thoughts. Now just let ourselves process these. Let the waters of love pour down upon us. Just imagine them like a shower, rinsing away all of the doubts and the fears. And let's imagine ourselves feeling energized by love, and just sending this love around the world to each and every one that we see or that we hear. Just knowing that love is a powerful force that will change everything, and all we have to do is keep sharing it with each other. So let's just imagine sharing this love and make that our simple, solitary mission this weekend. Just to share the love, silently or out loud. So let the subconscious mind continue on the journey of sending out love to all that it meets along the way, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it. That is the show for today. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for taking time out during the week to watch the shows. I appreciate that. You have a great day. Just keep sending love out. I know it's a simple thing. I know I say it all the time, but that's what we have to work with. And if we just send it out, the world changes. And we find that we really don't have to do much, because it's pretty easy just to send love out. Just like planting a seed, throwing them out there. So, that's it. Have an awesome weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.